Alright, Travis Wayne Goodsill. Prophet's will, our will, world's will, and following the Spirit. In both the animal and plant kingdoms, their one prime directive is to breed. Well, plants don't breed. They produce seed that falls to the ground and produces more plants, whichever plant they are. This is the original intention and design, is to be wild and free, our own free agency. Then you got these animals that come along and take away their free agency and eat them. As well as in the animal kingdom, there are your vegetarians, or rather vegans, versus your carnivores. And this concept is destructive because it allows for the continuation of the perpetuation of each and every species, family group. But because of the cycle of life, there is a survival of the fittest into the program, which causes extinctions. If you get too many animals that are vegans, then the vegetation eventually disappears. And with no vegetation, the whole system collapses. You have an extinction event. And so animals and vegetation are not capable of living in harmony. It's not in their program to do so. It's their own survival that is programmed into them. Mankind is different because mankind has the program to listen to a higher power and allow for domestication, which provides peace, happiness, harmony, safety for all, so that nobody has to go extinct. But then you get those who claim that domestication is slavery and that plants need to go back to being wild and untamed as well as animals. And so there's some confusion in our world because of mankind not wanting to listen to a higher power to create paradise on earth. And so we have prophets in the Mormon Church. These prophets have altered the scriptures, saying that their will is God's will, and that, as Sherry Dew has told us in a recent article, which I did a whole video on, they are an unfailing safety net of truth. Sherry Dew has never done any church history research, so that she would know that the prophets are lying about church history. As Nelson came up the week before to the mission presidents who are brand new and told them that his authority is based upon the big lie of the church history. Oakes keeps telling us that obedience to them is the first law of heaven. Got caught on PBS documentary saying it's wrong to criticize leaders of the church even when the criticism is correct. What What a dumbass. But yeah, his judgeship was coming through. I'm the law! No, the Constitution is the law. You are supposed to judge based on the Constitution, whether the defendant had violated it or not. And so this concept of following the prophets has led to Mormons such as Des Nat, who just want people to follow the living prophet with the sword to enforce it. Dear God. So yeah, when I exposed them, YouTube freaked out because the prophet's will was not being accomplished for me. If you don't understand the algorithms of YouTube, when a person is signed in and they watch a video, that video is recommended to others that they are subscribed to. And so when you have a group such as Des Nat, which should be designated as a terrorist group, because they think that enforcing it by the sword, so that everybody follows the living prophet and have their agency taken from them, is the true God that we worship. And so yeah, YouTube was in a panic and had to rush to reprogram the algorithms, and eventually came to the conclusion, we can't stop this. We have to get rid of the Des Nat guys. And so yeah, the rush of views all of a sudden disappeared, along with their thumbs down. Good times. And so yeah, the prophets are not supposed to force us to do things, even though they claim it's for our best interest. Remember Lucifer's plan of happiness? I will take away their agency and everybody will be exalted in the highest degree of the celestial kingdom. That's marriage, Sherry Do. She who will remain a ministering angel for all eternity, according to Mormon law of theology. She followed the prophets. She thought that she could only be married to the best of Mormonism, and waited for a prophet. The concept of planting a seed and producing the fruit thereof was foreign to her. Need sex education. And so when you have Mormons who, like me as a little primary kid, as we're being taught the primary song Follow the Prophet, and I end up inspired by a higher power to change the wording of the song to follow the prophet, follow the prophet, follow the prophet straight down to hell. As a little kid, innocent. Why is a little kid being inspired by the Spirit of God to change the lyrics? I wonder if it has anything to do with his parents. So yeah, those of us who learn that we're supposed to have agency in the church can sometimes get confused. We end up following the world's will as a result. Because, well, if the prophets are wrong, then we need some other source to follow. So we watch TV and we pick up the the little quotes from the various TV shows and movies, yippee-ki-yay, stuff like that, and that we apply in our lives, and we don't realize where they came from as time goes on. Oh, that came from SNL episode? Oh, okay. Babu Wawa. And if we're able to realize that we are being controlled by the will of the world, we then realize, okay, that's the wrong path, because it's leading to negative consequences, like following the living prophet in Cherry Doo's case. It's leading to negative consequences. She desired, as all Mormon girls desired, a family life, kids and grandkids. Well, she's barren for the rest of eternity. Her dreams as a little girl have been shattered because she followed the living prophet. And so, same with the world's will. Following the world will lead to destruction, because you'll get tossed about like a ship in the sea. James. Passage in James. And so you need to learn what truth is. And follow truth, not follow some man who's taking away your agency, not following the tossed about world's views as you get confused, and then you decide to do the next phase of following your own will. Well, I don't trust anybody. Everybody is doing their own thing, so it's just a matter of opinion. So my opinion, I'm going to call it a spiritual witness. Do my own will. How good does that do? Well, during a coronavirus, if you follow the living prophet, you get sick with coronavirus, you get hospitalized, you die. Yay, follow the prophet, straight down to hell. If you follow the world's will, I don't know, it's confusing. Some say it's a hoax. Some say I should ingest disinfectants into my body. What do? I'm confused. And that can lead to infection, hospitalization, and death. And then you follow your own will. Well, I'm going to do my own thing. I don't like a mask. It's taking away my agency. I'm going to burn the mask on national television so that all can see that Utah is non-compliant and causing the spread and escalation of the virus. But it's my will. And so what does following your own will lead to? Infection, hospitalization, and death. So what are we supposed to do then? Oh, right, that higher power thing. See, Mormons think that the higher power is just to be listened to, and it infuses freedom, justice, and liberty for all, without any effort on their part to find out if it's actually the right source. Following the Spirit is something that has to be taught. You have to find the right source, because, well, we've got these living prophets who are demanding obedience. You've got Mormons who are demanding obedience to them as if it were the voice of the living prophet. Their will, spiritual witness. You've got the world, and you've got the temptation to do your own thing regardless. And all of these lead to negative consequences. Death. The prophets are not supposed to lead to death. Amos 3:7 is a perfect example. The prophets are supposed to warn of danger so that you don't die of coronavirus. Coronavirus even has an example in Scripture that the living prophets could have implemented. Well, we follow the iron rod, the Word of God, not the covenant path of obedience to prophets. You do know that's the covenant path, right? What's the first one? Obedience. To who? Oh, God, who doesn't exist. So it's the prophets who speak for God, who doesn't exist. So it's obedience to prophets. Women no longer obey their husband. They now obey the prophets because they're going to be prepped, groomed to leave their husband and marry a prophet. Sherry Dew will finally get her opportunity if she can survive the next few years. We're being exterminated right now to purge the wicked from us. And that took me off a tangent. So let me retreat from where I can't figure out where I'm going with that, because I forgot with the tangent. Moving along. So following the Spirit. Alma, oh, right, living prophets, Moses. Got it. There we are. Moses, what did he do? Hey, I'm sending a coronavirus to Egypt. Oh, okay, so I need to tell everyone to stay home and stay safe. And what did Pharaoh do? Nope, left everything open. It's a hoax. I'm not letting Moses and his people go. You guys are all going to die. And sure enough, that's what happened. And they used the symbolic prophecy thing of the firstborn dying, having to do with succession of leadership. It's a collapse of the government and the religion, because the firstborn of Pharaoh is the successor to the throne of the theocratic government. And yet we had both our government leader and our religious leader both telling us coronavirus is a hoax, go back to work, I'm going to make it difficult for you, I'm going to extort your lives with financial difficulties if you do not go back to work and pretend that there is no coronavirus threat. Yeah, just like in the Bible. And so how many Mormons chose to follow the living prophet? Oops. How many Mormons followed the wisdom of the world? Oops. How many Mormons did their own will? Oops. How many Mormons followed the true Spirit? And in case there were those of you who were confused, there were some of us who did follow the example of Moses and who warned you in place of the living prophets who failed to follow Amos 3:7, who warned you, stay home, stay safe. This was predicted by Joseph Smith in section 45, verse 31. Stay home. Don't let them extort you. This was the time where your year's supply was necessary. Oops. But it sure is a good thing that this is not affecting white people who are healthy. Isn't that great? This is a tailored coronavirus for those of color and the sick and the afflicted. A purge virus. Isn't that interesting? For white supremacy, of all things. Isn't that interesting how that worked? And so China, oh, yay, China. Yeah, they were fighting Hong Kong. They were in a civil war. I wonder what happened over there. Oh yeah, coronavirus. Yeah, China came in, forced everybody to stay home, stopped the virus. When it sprouted back up again, they stopped the virus because they took away agency. They saved lives by taking away agency, rather than warning in advance, hey, oops, there's a leak in the facility that the Americans were doing tests to see if viruses can be controlled. You heard about that, right? Fox News was telling us from the beginning. and so yeah, the eye doctor in China was the one who leaked it onto social media and spread throughout all the world, as China then had no recourse but to say, okay, fine, it came out in December. We're getting reports that it was out as early as June or July. But isn't it interesting that Kim Jong-un knew that it was going to come to America as he rode on his white horse up to the mountain peak? The first of the four men of the apocalypse, four horsemen of the apocalypse. So, isn't that great? I got a gift for you, America. Oh yeah? And so, yeah, Hong Kong has been conquered. And this year, China suppressed the last of the news in Hong Kong. And so now they'll enforce their slave system of a social control, in which they monitor your cell phones. They know exactly where you're going. They have cameras to confirm it's you all throughout the cities. And if you post something on your social media blog about how it's unfair that China is raising the cost of something, oops, you get docked a social credit or more. And so your social credit system is the economy, sort of like a credit report, where if your credit is bad, oh, I'm sorry, your credit report shows that you're poor in the credit rating. So we're not going to sign a vehicle. You're not allowed to, buy a car because we need somebody else who has a better credit rating than you to co-sign. And same for housing. Yeah, it's sort of like that with social credits instead. They control your behavior in China. Isn't that great? Freedom, agency, and justice for none. And so, yeah, your purchasing is based on your social credit rating. Yeah, it even goes down to food. So if you become a full-on rebel in China, you're no longer allowed to buy food. You are kicked out of the community and cast out with the rebels to be suppressed. Form the underground black market, and etc., etc. Chaos and pandemonium. Is that what you want for America? Are you sure? So Alma 32, starting in verse 28, after redefining Hebrews 11:1, it becomes necessary to explain that redefinition because there are still Mormons who mess it up, misinterpret it according to their own will. And so it is proclaimed in a vegetative scientific process. We will liken the word unto a seed. So the words I'm speaking are seed. And I'm sowing my wild oats on the internet. Viral on the internet. And people who listen to my word can find out if my word is true or false. It's the same with scriptures, it's the same with the living prophets, it's the same with the wisdom of the world, it's the same with your own will. But there's a danger in following this process. You might find out you, the living prophets, or the world are wrong. We may be able to judge them if we follow this process. In fact, we will be able to judge truth from error by following this process. And so, just like the words of the living prophets concerning coronavirus leads to sickness, hospitalization, and death, oh yeah, they're not true. They're not the unfailing safety net of truth. Sherry do. We now know them by their fruit. The fruit of the words of the prophets during coronavirus leads to death. That's sort of a violation of scripture for a prophet. A prophet's supposed to lead to life, safety, peace, refuge, not confusion, terror, death. And how does your own will work? Well, you get inspiration for things. And the scriptures, even Hebrews 11:1 or 11, goes on to explain how their incorrect translation is wrong by giving case examples from the Old Testament. Noah. The word was, Noah, build a boat. Here's the blueprints. Build the boat according to the blueprints. Do you just say, oh, well, that's a spiritual witness, I know it's true, and then do nothing? Faith without works? There's more to that, isn't there, Mormons? Is dead. Yeah, you've got to build the boat. Not just, I'm trying very hard. I never did finish it, but I tried. No. Faith without works. Works is comparable to fruit. Seed without fruit is dead. Literally. If you don't do anything with the seed, it dies. You've got to freeze it to make it last longer if you're not going to plant it. And Mormons apparently are unfamiliar with this because the prophets are confusing them. Oaks, obey me or die! Obey you and die. And so, when you produce the fruit, you built the ark. Even Nephi built a boat. Oh, isn't that coincidental? Wonder if there was some kind of planning in that to teach from the Book of Mormon correct principles so that we may govern ourselves. Oh, isn't that something Joseph Smith said? Yes. we then know that the source of the inspiration was good and true. And so fruit has further seeds in it. So now that you've built a boat, you can go on with that. I'm going to build a whole fleet and conquer the world, and they will all obey me. No! You don't take agency to take away the agency of others. My religious freedom says that you are to be suppressed and oppressed by me. It's my religious freedom that I am not to provide you with any goods and services. So yeah, that's happening. So, is there any confusion now? Do you hate me? You're supposed to. A true prophet is supposed to be hated. He's not supposed to be revered and given awards and medals and doctorate degrees, honorary doctorates. And money. Pay your tithing or you will not get an exaltation. You know, tithing is not supposed to be extorted for exaltation, for membership, for peace, happiness, and safety. Oh my God, what part of Scripture are you getting this from? So yeah, I'm baffled, literally baffled, how Mormons think that following the living prophet is an unfailing safety net of truth. They can't tell the truth about church history because it would expose them as frauds. And now they're purposely, actively trying to exterminate us, to purge the wicked from the church and have only white supremacists remain, and then replace them with Russia, the lost 10 tribes of the north. Oh my God! So yeah, I mean, Joshua is correct. Choose ye this day whom you will serve. It's not some authoritarian God. It's the inner voice that we get, giving us guidance and instruction. If we can weed out the fake voices from the living prophets in the world and our own will, our own carnal nature. You know, you're not supposed to say, oh, I'm going to become an eternal virgin. No, that's not the will of God. What is the first commandment? No, it's not obedience, Oaks. The first commandment is sex. So anybody who's suppressing sex from you is evil. But again, you're not supposed to do your own will. You're not supposed to join an orgy and then find out a couple weeks later, oh, I'm pregnant. I wonder who the father is. I have no idea because nobody, was on a list. It was just an open invitation, so it was just a whole bunch of strangers. Could have been any one of them, and none of them, yeah. And so what happens in our society now that you're pregnant? Well, you're not allowed to have an abortion. You have to have the baby. But they insist that you give it up for adoption to good white parents of moral, religious value, character, tradition, whatever you call it. And if you defy and refuse to do that, you whore, then you get financially punished. Well, yeah, you've got to work. You don't get time off from work to take care of your baby all by yourself. You need a man to work for you and pay for your lifestyle. That's a good Christian home. And so, yeah, you have to give up your baby anyway to babysitters or daycares while you go to work to pay for the babysitters and the daycare. Isn't that great? Of course, a two-parent income also is insufficient, as the two-parent income is also necessary to take care of a family. So again, you as both parents have to slave in the system and never get to raise your kids. Somebody else is raising your kids, as their whole system of education is being tossed about by the world's views. It's supposed to be science-based, which is truth, but there are too many scientists who have taken over as top scientists in the field and spreading lies. And nobody fact checks these guys. And so that's a problem. I recognize it in Paleo-Hebrew as well as Egyptian. You know, Egyptologists refuse to carry the king list into the pre-4000 BCEs, because it does. It keeps going. But Egyptologists don't like it because they don't like what it implies. And so Assyriologists therefore say, oh yeah, we're the oldest society, not Egypt. No, you're not. And then the whole Giza pyramids, and then the translation, which is where my specialty comes in. There is no sign list of the petroglyphs. The facsimiles we have, those are petroglyphs. They're those pictures, each character, not the text, but the actual pictures with the text. You won't find them in any sign list. Not Gardner's, not Budge's, not others. They don't have sign lists for them. Why? Are they not Egyptian characters that need to be translated? Oh, Egyptologists don't realize that they need to be translated too? But it wasn't on the Rosetta Stone. It was just text. Oh, God. So, yeah, you cannot trust people in your own field of research. You have to fact check them. And you will find they're wrong. The whole Big Bang, theory of evolution, even evolutionary theory, wrong. Vegetation theory. Okay. Yeah, vegetation theory, you can reproduce it. Amazing. A seed produces fruit after its image in its design. It's amazing. So, an octopus does not produce sharks. Humans do not produce monkeys, or chimpanzees, or bunny rabbits. Bunnies, but not rabbits. Do they even have that now that Hugh Hefner is dead? Is that gone the wayside now? Anybody catch that? Oh, that's horrible! Evil! My will tells me you're evil! Again, the first commandment. Being so weird. So, yeah, it's Monday. And, that's all I'm trying to do for you guys. I don't want you to follow me. I don't do the thing like and subscribe, which is a trigger for the analog program. But you notice, even when I myself watch my own videos, I still don't get the views. supposed to. They've shut me down from getting my views out there, or getting my videos out there to people. They know how to program it to silence me, because the church doesn't want me giving any recognition, even negative recognition. Desnat, you disobeying the prophets. So is that clear for you guys now? I hope so. You're not following your own will. You're following the will of your inner voice. And you're not just stopping with the inner voice. You're testing it to see if you can reproduce it in the flesh, like a science theory. We can't test a Big Bang. Oh, isn't that interesting? We can't test your theory? Then we have to dismiss it. Oh, you're forcing us to accept your theory? Really? You're taking away our agency. Okay. Evolutionary theory, huh? The theory of evolution. Are you sure? Are you sure that amoebas turn into fish, and that fish turn into lizards, and that lizards turn into humans? Or chimps and then humans. Are you sure? Because the vegetation theory says no. These things are not complicated when you dissect them and expose them for what they really are.